result of that, my parent company in the US thought I was a genius of some kind and said, wow, well done, you got this approval. And actually they didn't know that it was really your reform movement that created that opportunity. But now startups are moving fast, they're scalable, they have no fear of failure. Pritika will talk to you about how she's built her career, how she's built her business. No fear of failure, very agile, very quick. Investment and funding dollars are much more easily available to all the people who need it. Rajan tells me often, and I'm sure Manoj will tell me, that actually what they need is quality startups, not necessarily money. The search for money used to be much tougher earlier. I can tell you, if you go to Pritika and offer her money, she will turn you down with a polite smile and say, not now, thank you very much. I don't need any more right now. Come back in a year's time, and then I will tell you my price, and then you can tell me whether you have any interest or not. Right, Pritika? I'm sure you'll say that. But anyway, she's being shy at this point in time. We're also backed by a fabulous board with members from the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, but also people like Saurabh Srivastava, the founder of IAN, NASCOM, Thai, Bobby Bedi, a filmmaker, a producer who's done some wonderful work, Devinder Brar, the head of biosciences for GVK, the former head of Ranbaxy, Ajay Shah, a very famous economist and a writer whose writings and impact on policy are fantastic. Along with that, we have a fabulous board of advisors. These advisors range from Ida Aroni, who is the founder of Brand Israel, from Viljar Lube, who was the head of investment promotion at Estonia and the former ambassador of Estonia to India. From people like, of course, Ajay Banga, many others that we've talked about, and who are part, Naina Lal Kidwai, many others who we will bring in as board of advisors, and we will bring in even more who form the heartbeat and the foundation of the entire program and structure that we want to put together here to make Punjab really, really the place for startups to be born and to bring global experts to every startup in Punjab. We have three elements, and I'm going to move fast because I know Rajan himself needs to move and he has a board meeting, and I will be conscious of that. We have three elements we want to execute on. Building a virtual environment for all incubators, institutions, universities, and everybody else to work under. We will build an open source content so that anybody can leverage any content that we produce, all the mentors that we bring in, all the advisors we bring in. This is not about ownership. This is about spreading and partnering and growing and scaling in that manner. We will build out an accelerator at Calcut Bhavan. Yes. We have a 10-year lease awarded by the Ministry of Agriculture. That accelerator, I hope, will be the fuel, not just for the startups that are housed there, but for a wide variety of virtual startups, virtual networks for accelerator that we expect to build out in most of the major cities across Punjab. And we will launch a 150 crore fund for investments, which will take care, which is partially supported by the government, which will invest in companies in Punjab. Our focus will be on Punjab's strengths, on agri-tech, healthcare, women entrepreneurs, food, media, sports, data analytics, so many areas where Punjab has enormous strengths that we must leverage, nurture, and help them scale and put Punjab on a map for startups across the world. Our task is simple: to encourage startups and help them scale, to encourage universities and college students to build more startups, to bring the best of global investors to the table to Punjab, and to build that ecosystem and a vibrant network and excitement around the entire startup area. We have been working at this for some time. COVID has not helped our progress during that time, but we now have a young, dynamic team ready to go. And after this launch, we hope we will be able to come out with a series of ideathons, of activities and events, and of reaching out to startups that we hope will be truly unique. I want to stop here and turn it over to Rajan, if I may, at this point in time, knowing his time schedule. But I do want to say again, Vinny, I cannot thank you and your departments for the way they have worked with us and the support they have given us. It has been unparalleled, and it really shows the spirit of how things can be done. And frankly, it's a best practice for the rest of India. With that, thank you very much, and I'll turn it to Rajan, please, for his comments. Thank you, Rajan.
Thank you, Pramod, Chief Secretary Dr. Ahluwalia, Pramod, distinguished panelist, and I'm hoping lots and lots of entrepreneurs who are either in Punjab or have a keen interest in developing the startup ecosystem Punjab who are dialing in. So first and foremost, congratulations. I think this is an extremely exciting and energizing launch that you're having today. So congratulations, Pramod, to you and the entire team and the state for coming up with this initiative and getting this launched. So I want to take a couple of minutes to, I think all of you are familiar with what's happening in the Indian startup ecosystem. I think at this stage, you'd have to be living under a rock to not know what's going on in India. In 2010, India had 0 unicorns. We had, basically about 3 million smartphone users, and as we sit today, we have 600 million smartphone users. We have almost 60 unicorns. We are now creating almost a unicorn every other week, which is $1 billion private startup. And in the first 7 months of 2021, we've had over $17 billion of startup funding in India, which is actually higher than any other year that we've ever had. And keep in mind, we are still very much in the midst of COVID. So our startup ecosystem has evolved dramatically. Now, in many ways, as Pramod mentioned, Punjab, the startup movement of India has moved on without Punjab, and that's unfortunate because you're a state that has so much entrepreneurship, right? In many ways, if there was one term that could define Punjab. By the way, I'm married to a Punjabi, so I have very close family connections. I spent a lot of time in Chandigarh. In fact, when I moved back in 2005, my very first angel investment was actually a company in Mohali. And sadly, that was the only company that I funded, and that was in 2006, which is a very long time ago. So despite, I think, having tremendous energy for entrepreneurship, in many ways, the startup ecosystem has passed by Punjab, and I think it's time that changes, and I'm really excited that all of you are focused on changing it. As Sequoia Capital, we have about $7.5 billion invested in Indian startups, many of them very, very early stage companies. We have over 400 companies we've invested in, and unfortunately, we don't have a single company in Punjab, not one. So that, I wanted to use that as a fact to just say that, look, there's a lot of capital. Manoj is here from SoftBank. As I said, just this year, we've had over $16 billion that has gone into startups. And unfortunately, I think very, very, very small percentage, if at all any, has gone to Punjab. So their capital is available. We are seeing startups come up all across India. And I think what I'd urge all of you to do is really a few things, right? One, make sure that you get your entrepreneurs back to Punjab. Okay, there are many Punjabis building extraordinary companies all over India. I think the first thing is you've got to launch a movement to bring them all back, or at least bring some of them back, because the powerful thing about ecosystems is it all starts with a few, right? If you get a few awesome entrepreneurs to come back, I think that would make a huge difference, because it would really be sort of a movement to bring people back. And by the way, it can be done. Many times over the last 30 years globally, we've seen that happen. I think the second thing is to get many more Punjabis to start up. That's probably a little easier than part one. And I think what's exciting about what Pramod outlined is many of the sectors that Pramod mentioned, agriculture, food, clean energy, environmental tech, media, sports. These are all sectors of the future when it comes to startups. As Sequoia, a year and a half ago, we hadn't made a single investment in ag tech. Today, it's one of the most important sectors that we're focused on, right? And over the next decade, we're going to see hundreds of amazing startups emerge in the sector of, in the sector of agriculture. Most of those should come from Punjab because, you're the state, if there's any one state that could combine entrepreneurship and agriculture. So having many more startups sort of start in Punjab, but I think it's going to be really important for you to find a way to keep them in Punjab, because it's one thing for them to start in Punjab. For instance, this one company that I invested in 2006, guess where they're based? They're based in Gurgaon. So I think what excites us is there's a lot of capital in India today. We are looking for exciting companies to invest in, and we'd love to come and invest in as many companies, amazing companies that Punjab can create. And last thing I'd like to end with is, look, I
everybody knows that. But Rajan is a true friend. And Rajan, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. He's a true friend. We've known each other for years. And Rajan, this is exactly what we need. Thank you. I know you have to go. So please, thank you for being here with us. Yeah, really. Wonderful. With that, if I may turn to you, Kunal, for your talk at this time, please.
Thank you for having me, and Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Ahluwalia, Honorable Chief Secretary, Mr. Bhasin, co-panelists, friends. It is my privilege to share my thoughts today on the launch of Innovation Mission Punjab. The spirit of enterprise and ethos of Punjab are indeed two sides of the same coin. The incredibly hardworking Punjabis have made their mark around the world, and not only in agriculture, industry, and hospitality, but also in the startup space. In fact, my own company, my own startup's co-founder, Snapdeal's co-founder, and my good friend Rohit is from Malot. Another friend of mine, Dipinder, who's the founder of Zomato, is from Muktsar. Sachin and Binny Bansal, who had co-founded Flipkart, were born in Chandigarh. I too in the state will spur the entrepreneurial activity in Punjab. The second point is around curated mentorship. I can't emphasize the importance of mentorship. Decade ago, when I started our business, the concept of mentorship was quite nascent. In fact, startups were not even a phrase that were used. People thought that those who are doing startups didn't get a job. That's why they're doing a startup. The entrepreneurial ecosystem was still in its formative stages. Internet businesses were getting started, and most of the learning was obtained through doing something and just making lots of mistakes. However, over the years, mentorship has come to occupy an important place in the startup world. The mentorship is the fuel that drives Silicon Valley, and we have now seen similar mentorship ecosystems develop in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and other parts of the country where the startup ecosystem is strong. The success of Punjab's innovation mission will certainly be accelerated by the availability of high impact curated mentorship. The Indian startup ecosystem has gone through cycles of building, learning, raising funds, success, and failure. The immense learning is available to the younger cohorts through other entrepreneurs, angel investors, venture capitalists, and other experienced professionals. A curated, well managed mentorship program will connect young entrepreneurs with a pool of experienced mentors who understand key issues around building products, design thinking, developing business models, growing teams, building brands, raising capital, and much more. The third and final point I want to make is the importance of focus. Oftentimes, in similar discussions in other states, I found that states want to do everything, but there is tremendous value in focus. Nations and states are choosing to focus on certain sectors in order to catalyze and absorb innovation, but where they also feel they have a right to win. So Israel, for instance, is known as a cybersecurity hub. UK and Singapore are hubs for fintech, financial services technologies. Canada has chosen to invest behind advanced manufacturing and ocean industries. And like Rajan mentioned, I feel agri-tech or agricultural technologies is a natural growth area for Punjab, a natural area of focus. Market linkage platforms, quality assessment tools, personalized agri advice on crops, soil, weather, database agri financing, using drones. These are all increasingly digital tools that can be put to use and are becoming increasingly pervasive. Through this, they are eliminating information asymmetry, expanding market access, and making supply chains more efficient and transparent. I'm also particularly glad that the mission is also reaching out to the well-connected Punjabi diaspora to create meaningful avenues for them to engage with the mission, including through mentorship and scale-up support. I'm sure Punjab's innovation mission, led ably by Mr. Bhasin, will devise the best and the most suited modus operandi to fuel the innovation in Punjab. I'm quite excited personally to contribute to this. Thank you. and essentially creating forums where aspiring entrepreneurs who have ideas but don't know how to turn them into actionable plans or businesses or startups and don't know how to get past the cold start problem. Just having mentorship sessions from those who've done it before is a tremendously effective way of addressing some of these challenges of getting off the ground for an ecosystem. So I would say that that would be one very actionable idea that I would recommend embarking on to begin with.
Understood, Kunal. Very good. Very good. Let me, with that, Kunal, thank you again. We will call on you for your mentorship for many of the startups. You have promised me that, and I will absolutely take you up on that because we need your time and your effort. We won't waste your time. We will use it judiciously. But I think given the journey that you have been through, I think that would be extremely, extremely exciting to have you do that.
More than happy to. Thank you.
Pleasure, pleasure. With that, Prithika, may I turn to you for your amazing story and as well as your thoughts on Punjab. Mantek, you weren't there when I was introducing her. She's one of our very young women entrepreneurs in Punjab with a great startup. She's spent time at Y Combinator, which is probably the world's most famous accelerator in the world. She's had a chance to do that. She has an amazing business, which if we are very nice to her, she will send us some socks, which she creates, which are quite wonderful. And it's quite a remarkable business. But Prithika, may I turn it to you for your journey, because you're a live example of exactly who we would love to have and love to be able to work with in Punjab.
Thank you, Pramod, for having me here, and my heartiest congratulations on launching the Punjab Innovation Fund. In fact, I've always wished something like this existed way back because I was born and brought up in Chandigarh. I've spent my entire childhood in Chandigarh, and then I moved to US for my further education, and then I worked there with Bank of startups. They came from places nobody knew, like Nike. It came from Oregon. Microsoft. It came from Seattle, and it really helped because when you are starting up, you really need to save money. And if you're living in Bangalore, it's too expensive. You're living in San Francisco, very, very expensive. So in that respect, Chandigarh, it was not that expensive. And then access to talent, young people, young blood, and they're very passionate to get something on the plate. So I think that really helped us take the decision to start in startup and start in Chandigarh and stay in Chandigarh. And on top of that, I would say, as you also mentioned, Punjabis are entrepreneurial in nature. And second thing that I really like about Chandigarh or Punjab is people are quite global already. The aspirations are to build something for the world already. And in fact, I would encourage everybody, all the young people who are listening this, to actually start a venture when they are in college. It really teaches you a lot more than what you learn in classes. In fact, I started a venture. It was Book My Present while I was in college with a friend, and it didn't work, but I learned a lot. And why I didn't work was, I think, majorly because for any startup to grow, we need 3 M's: money, access to money, access to market, and access to mentorship, which was not there while I was in college. And I think that is what you are bringing to Punjab with your fund. And I think that is really going to help us, the young people in Punjab, to become the creators of future rather than just being the consumers of future. And I think that is something really, really helpful for all the young people out there. And thanks, Pramod, for this initiative. Because while we raised funding, we did it from Silicon Valley. Had you been here earlier with this fund, I'm sure we didn't have to go anywhere, and we could have just come to you in Chandigarh and said, hey, we are doing this. Why don't you invest? So yes, I think what you're doing is, the fund in itself is going to bring the right ecosystem for young entrepreneurs to flourish. There is, in today's time, we do not have any, we have a lot of access to capital, but the ecosystem is what is required. And with the fund, I think that is going to come to young people. And especially being a woman entrepreneur, I would say, yes, it is. People often ask me, how is it being a woman entrepreneur? Do you face difficulties, XYZ things? It is a little harder, okay, but I think we Punjabis, we are outgoing, we become friends very easily. And for women in Punjab, yes, there are certain societal issues because of which we don't get to carry on our careers for a long time, XYZ. But I think in today's time, you really don't need to go out. You can start a company with just your laptop. So this is the right time for women to come up and take up entrepreneurship as a career. So thanks a lot, Pramod, for bringing these opportunities to this part of the world, because I think the talent is absolutely there. It was just the ecosystem which was missing. And with what you and the government, we are doing, I'm sure in next 5 years, yes, we are going to be the top 3 places to start a startup.
Wonderful, Pradeep. Wonderful. I'll get on to a little bit of the questions, but I wanted you to just perhaps, as we had discussed, talk a little bit about your own journey to build your business. How did you get the idea? Why were you brave enough? How did you manage to do it? Because I really want that to be an inspiration to a lot of women around who may be listening in.
Okay, so my background is really not into socks or textile or anything. I am a coder. In fact, I'm a data scientist. And if you ask my parents, they would be like, kahan you are selling jurabe bech rahe ho aap? Like you were a coder. So my journey was really like since childhood, I've always loved coding. So I started coding when I was 14, and I've always loved art. So because the euphoria you get when you create something is just enormous for me. And somewhere, I used to hear a lot of stories of people becoming rich while running a business, and also creating something that people can use. So somewhere it was there in my heart that I want to create something that could go into millions of homes. And while I did coding and data science, XYZ, but on the back of my mind, I knew that I'm just going to do this job for maybe a few years and then run my own venture. So the idea of Soxoho was like, yes, I was in Manhattan and I used to observe, all these dapper men in their black, white, gray suits. They were quite similar, but one thing stood out to me, and those were their bright colored designer socks. And whenever I used to come back to Chandigarh, I used to bring it for my cousins, for my friends. And whenever I used to plan my visit, they used to ask, don't bring me chocolates, get me these socks. So then I started observing the gap that exists in the men fashion market. So what we observed was the current brands, they were not really catering to the millennial men. And we thought, okay, this is the gap we can cater to. There were many brands in the West, but not in India. So we said, okay, let's get into this market, the men fashion market, and how to start. So again, that was very analytical, but how we found out was socks is something that men could use it as an accessory. Like, we women, we wear jewelry. Even it is a very small component of our attire, but it is very important for us. The same way, socks have now become very important for men. So that's how we launched. We tested it and it worked really well. And we launched in 2019. Last year, we got into Y Combinator in Silicon Valley, and we raised funding from some of the top entrepreneurs, including the founder of Tinder, Justin Khan. And since then, we have been scaling and growing.
What a wonderful story. It makes my hair stand on end to hear it. And we need 1,000 people like you to bloom, Prithika. And you have to be the power to fuel 1,000 women's ambitions as you go forward. I know it's probably not what you were thinking about when you decided to go and sell socks or sell jarabe, as your mother said, but that is the position you'll end up in. And I think it's a marvelous, marvelous story, wonderfully exciting. I also think by the way, I want in full disclosure, I did offer to fund her, and Manoj, she said, thank you, let me come back to you, which shows you exactly where she's sitting right now, which
To be here because I am the son of Punjab. Sat Sri Akal to everyone. Let me introduce. My mother comes from Lahore. My father comes from Rawalpindi. And we first came on partition to Amritsar. I was, of course, born in Delhi later. And then from Amritsar, we moved to Jalandhar. And from Jalandhar, we moved to Delhi. That's where I was born. But it's close to my heart. And working for 20 years in telecom and in leading Airtel for so many years, from 1 million to 400 million customers, I think I felt like a Punjabi going across the world because we did it in 20 countries. And Sunil, of course, is one of the biggest entrepreneurs of India and from Punjab. Pawan Munjal, so many great entrepreneurs have come from Punjab. So I think great initiative. I really congratulate all the supporters of this initiative of Innovation Mission Punjab. I think it will build a resurgent Punjab again, and how timing may be very, very appropriate. Viniji, the timing is so good because today the majority of the growth momentum and majority of investment, I'll say, comes from startups. And the startups can play a major role in attracting investments, creating jobs, and of course, wealth creation, which Punjab, like any other state, need. Now, why is Punjab very appropriate? And I don't want to talk about why it's missed out compared to Bangalore or Gurgaon, etc. But why it's appropriate. Firstly, the entrepreneur. encourage young entrepreneurs to incubate. I can commit that I will support this mission fully and encourage entrepreneurs through mentorship. I can be a mentor to all the young boys and girls who want to grow. And Ritika was absolutely right that 3 M's: money, market, and of course mentorship. So happy to support it personally as much as possible. I will also encourage my portfolio. Viniji, our portfolio is Paytm, Ola, Uber, Oyo, Snapdeal. Of course, Kunal was here. Policy Bazaar, Delivery, Grofers, Lenskart, Swiggy, and many others. We have about 25 companies in India, and we are the largest investors in digital startups in India. And we would like to continue investing in digital startups because digital startups are creating a revolution across the world. And we also have, by the way, Bhavish. Bhavish comes from Ludhiana. He runs Ola, and now he started a new venture called Ola Electric, which is EV venture. And let me tell you, these are very courageous steps taken by these young entrepreneurs coming from Punjab. And I'm sure all these companies I will personally encourage to grow into Punjab market, to utilize Punjab talent as much as possible, so that really Punjab talent can get the best assignments, best experience across the startup community. Now, I feel that, but more has started, and a goal he has taken of top 3. I feel the top 3 goal can be achieved. It's passion of all of us to be together to run towards this goal. I think Bangalore, Gurgaon have taken a lot of lead, but I think there is a slot free for Chandigarh and Punjab. So let's get that slot free, and maybe once we are number 3, then we can move up to 2 and 1 later. I really feel Pramod is the most appropriate person to lead it because of his experience, his knowledge, and of course his passion. And his enthusiasm rubs off everyone. It rubs off me always, and I can't say no to him. So when he called me, I had to say yes. And I will really like to thank you, Viniji, Mantekji, and of course, Honorable Chief Minister, for your vision, your drive to make this happen. And I think launching the mission is at a very, very right time. I think the iron is hot, and you're launching at the right time. I'd like to really thank all of you and continue this mission with much greater vigor and strength. Thank you, Viniji. Thank you, Mantekji. Thank you, Pramod.
Manoj, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful. Let me ask you a couple of things, if I may. As we think about the global diaspora of Punjabis, Manoj, and as you think about SoftBank and the way it works and the kind of investments it could make in the country, how do you see us best being able to pull all of them in? How can we build that network out in a way that is really exciting? Because what I want to show our startups in Punjab is that we will bring absolutely the best in the world to them. You know, this is not just about bringing local industrialists, but of course, the best of local industry and the best of global industry. So what are the things that we could do to really power that, to make that work really well? Sorry to spring this on you unannounced. And Bobby, thank you for being here. I'm going to ask Bobby Bedi, who's on our board, to also say a few words. Viniji, if that's okay, I asked him to join. But Manoj, just with that question, and thank you again for being here for us. We will need you. We will need your help. We will need your mentorship. And to the extent that you are willing to invest, we will need that as well.
No, thank you, Pramod. I feel that Punjab already has, Chandigarh especially already has many, many ingredients. We just need to get the youth excited. I think it's all about excitement of youth. And we need 1 or 2 success stories, like the success story which is just related to us. I think we need one or two more and really showcase those success stories. Now, what will happen if these success stories are showcased? The investors will come, mentors will come, and these young talent from
done projects and startups over here. So I believe that it's worth trying to develop a model where we can encourage startup in the music and entertainment and media business, not just because it's going to create huge numbers for us, but it will be the one method through which the world will know that we are doing this. Because this the reach of the entertainment business is very large. So, I mean, I'm going to focus a lot in trying to advise the mission on how do we kickstart entrepreneurship in a sort of formal, systemized way, helping people get there and increasing this reasonably large number manyfold. I mean, it's a simple line, but it's a biggish objective, and if it works, it will actually have a huge impact on what the mission does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Bobby, that's one of the key items to me is to play on the strengths of Punjab, to tap into the media entertainment world through people like you, to encourage that kind of entrepreneurship, because it is such a huge industry and it plays dynamically to our strength. I'm also seeing some members of our teams coming through, but I'll thank them separately. Devinder, may I turn to you? You've been part of our board. You've been a huge pioneer, huge CEO across the country, and would love to get your thoughts.
Thank you, Pramod, and Honorable Chief Minister, Chief Secretary Montague, and other members of the board and participants. I was fascinated listening to Kunal and also Pritika. And the thought that was going through my mind was that typically when we talk of startup, an image is getting created that startups means always something to do with technology. And Kunal mentioned several areas in which we can apply technology to agriculture, which is the focus of one of the focus of our Punjab Innovation Mission. And yet, when I was listening to Pritika, I used to buy socks in Italy. I always used to bring socks for myself from Italy because I did not find good quality socks in India. And such a simple idea, it does not lead. Actually, she left technology to implement a very simple idea.